and welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Thank you so much for joining us. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Make sure you check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Go find us everywhere: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Hive.
Hi.
Hello. Let's talk about some movies, babe.
Okay.
Are you okay?
I'm just tired.
Hi. You want a chip?
You keep offering me these sad crumbs of chips of yours.
Well, you don't want chips and dips?
There's no chip and dip left.
There's plenty. I'm all about sharing. See, I asked, and then look, the dog
First of
showed
all,
up.
let's be very clear in this entire world. You are not about sharing.
Well, I mentioned, do you want some? And guess who showed up? My chunky dog. She ran over. She's like, ooh, we're sharing? Okay. All right. What do you want to talk about first?
Whatever you want, my dear.
All right. So what I want to do is get my thing to set up properly. All right. I don't like how this does this either. Y'all, I'm navigating a new computer. I just want it to work. All right. All right. You want to talk about that?
Sure.
Let's go it. Let's do it.
All right. So the first one I'm being forced to talk about is the latest movie from the Venture Brothers. If you don't know who the Venture Brothers are,
I don't know who the Venture Brothers are, babe.
It was an animated series that was on Adult Swim. It ran for 7 seasons. This is the cartoon that you so famously heard them go, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh, okay. I do know who they are.
If you don't know the show, though, it's kind of a homage to like Scooby-Doo and Johnny
Bravo?
No, not Johnny Bravo. Johnny Quest. All those kind of like adventure cartoons of old.
Yes.
Like our days.
Yes.
But it's about Dr. Venture, his 2 sons, Hank and Dean, and then Brock Sampson, who's like his bodyguard. He's like this nerdy inventor guy, and then of course they have super villains that they deal with, arch nemesis, which the main one is the Monarch, and then his wife, Mrs. Monarch.
That's creative.
But Mrs. Monarch has got a man's voice. It's really funny. Anyway, so the show ran for 7 seasons. It's parody, it's comedy. Like it's actually in the world of like Johnny Quest and them are in the show as adults. Because like Dr. Venture, the dad, actually was a child actor, and his dad was a kind of a superhero kind of thing. And so they play up that whole world a lot of times. But they do direct parodies of different cartoons and stuff as well. But then there's like a whole series. There's like a Doctor Strange type character that lives that they rent a space to. There's like a Blade type character. It's just all this crazy world.
There's a lot happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's wacky. It's crazy. It's fun. But anyway, it was supposed to do an 8th season, then it got canceled. So we didn't think that season was ever going to happen. They just recently released the complete series. And in celebration of that complete series, they actually put out a movie that kind of picks up where the 7th season left off. The movie is called Radiant is the Blood of the Baboon Heart.
Oh.
I don't know if this movie has anything to do with a baboon's heart, but I think it's just a funny title. But it's actually really great. It picks up with the stuff. It keeps building on all the mythos and stuff, because there's like an evil society, there's a hero society, and there's like this art society, and they have like you're only this tier of a villain, so you can't bother this guy because he's more popular than you. So it's this whole thing that they deal with, and Hank and Dean are these 2 kids that they're both stupid, and you find out throughout the course of the series, spoiler, that they die all the time. They've been clones forever, so they keep dying. He keeps cloning them, but they don't know it. So they found out during the last few seasons that they were actually clones, and so they explore some of that in this. But there's more action adventure. There's like a whole group that's like a G.I. Joe type group that Brock Sampson is part of, with this sailor guy that's like super gay, but he's not gay, So anyway, the new movie is more the same, all the same voices. It's an extended episode, but they step it up a notch with the action and some blood and some fun. And I actually really dug it. If you like the Venture Brothers, it's a great addition. I think this was meant to be kind of a film to wrap up the series, and it does, and it has a big revealed some stuff that's been going on through the whole show, but also ends where they can make another movie if they wanted to. So either way, we'll see what happens. If you love the Venture Brothers, Radiant is the Blood of the Baboon Heart. will be available on Blu-ray and DVD and stuff this week. So check it out.
Okay.
There's not a lot you can say about this. You either know the Venture Brothers or you don't.
Yeah.
If you know them, like, there's nothing for me to explain. I just say, yeah, it's a great movie. If I have to explain the whole thing, then a lot of it's lost on the story.
Yeah.
This isn't something you can dive into without watching the series.
Okay.
I mean, you could. I mean, I think about it. You watch it, you just want to know who any of these people are. And you want to know what plight they've dealt with. What are you messing with? What plight they've dealt with to get to this point. So, no.
You need to stop.
So, anyway, check it out.
No.
Is her ball or something under there?
I have no idea what she wants. Check and see. I can't see.
I don't know what she was pawing at the little stand.
No, there's nothing down there.
So, Sabine, come here.
Oh, no.
Sorry. Anyway,
She's jumping over the cords.
it'll be available this week, so check it out.
All right, let's go here. Give her a chip.
I'm going to.
All right. So, we're moving
What's
on
next
to the
on the
next
agenda?
one. This one is called Love Again. This was on the line. It's available.
It wasn't on the line.
It was on the line.
It was on our Movies Anywhere.
Oh, is it not available everywhere? I don't know. I just things show up and I watch them because you told me to.
Exactly.
Where do I watch this?
I believe it's out this week on Blu-ray.
Okay,
DVD.
it's coming out this week. See?
Yeah, it's just not on the line like you're saying.
Okay.
It might be available digital yet. Let me look it up real quick.
Okay.
I didn't
So
have
this
it.
is a new movie with Priyanka Chopra Jonas, because we gotta say it right, and Sam Hugan, and as you see on the poster, starring the music of Celine Dion.
Celine Dion.
And Celine.
It is now, or actually, it came out this week. It is available on Blu-ray and DVD.
There you
and I'm
go.
assuming
And
digital.
Celine Dion, as you can see on
Celine
the
Dion.
poster, is on the is in the film. This is her first film. So
I don't know. Is it?
yeah, I'm telling you, this is her first film. Hello. Anyway, so what do we want to know? So it's basically a little romantic movie. It's one of those where I don't know. I don't want to spoil. Does it spoil who she's texting a number of someone that she used to know?
Well, no, it's not really a spoiler. It's basically.
And then somebody else. This guy now has the number.
No, this is not a spoiler.
Okay.
Her boyfriend, I don't know if I think it was her fiance or boyfriend or whatever, it doesn't matter,
No longer
passes away.
with
And
us.
so it's one of
I
those
think
cases.
that's a major spoiler.
It's not really, because that's the opening of the film. It's not a spoiler.
It
because
got me.
The whole premise of the film is
She's texting.
she's texting his old number, and we all know what happens when somebody's phone number goes away. It goes to somebody else.
Yes, eventually.
And so in this case, it's one of those cases that we've heard stories about this kind of stuff in real life, where somebody's texting a number or a wrong number and that forms a relationship. That's essentially the premise of the film.
Right.
But it's not the kind of relationship you necessarily think at the beginning.
Yes. That's it. That's basically the whole movie. Anyway,
It's pretty much it's not the whole movie, but
it's pretty much a basic by the numbers, kind
Romantic
of romance,
comedy.
fall in
It's
love.
not really a comedy as much.
No, it's a romance. You fall
Yeah.
in love. There's a misunderstanding. Will you get back together or not? Kind of that thing. And at the same time, I think the interesting part to me was actually Celine Dion.
Yeah,
It actually
she
added
annoys
a
me
new
in general.
layer.
Like, she annoys me in general. Like, I don't like her music. She as a person annoys me. But I don't know why I can't, because she didn't do anything. It's like
You know,
she's not, I don't know if it's I know where's she from?
she's from Canada.
She's hardcore Canada, because she got
She's
the hard
very-
accent.
yeah,
she got the
she's
French
French.
accent. Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Um,
very French.
But anyway, I don't know. Maybe it's because she was directly connected to Titanic,
She's
and I
from
hate that movie.
Quebec, so yeah, very.
I hate that movie, so maybe that's why she annoys me.
Well, this is actually her first feature film. That
She's
been
actually
in.
pretty good. I like because she plays herself, so she's not
Yes.
really acting, but
But she is.
but sometimes that's harder.
I think.
But
so.
she almost is like the love guru of the film, unintentionally.
And it's funny because throughout the film, there's so much of her music, and
I feel like
a
the
lot
movie
of
was
the
formed
lyrics,
like that other movie.
yeah,
kind of
around her music and the lyrics. And there's one point where the main guy, he's a music critic, right? So he goes to interview Celine Dion, and he asks, so in one of your songs you say love is like something unknown, and the other one you say love is this. Well, which one is it? And she's like, you've never been in love, have you?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it can be multiple things at the same time.
Well, that's the kind of thing is every time she's on screen, which isn't a ton, but it's still it's not just a glorified cameo. She has a major
she's
part in the
in
movie.
the movie.
But it's funny because she makes a comment about him every time she sees him. It's slightly she goes, "Well, look who's standing up straighter. What's wrong with you?" And, 'cause she can see the difference in his persona based on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny because she makes a comment about him every time she sees him. It's slightly she goes, "Well, look who's standing up straighter. What's wrong with you?" And, because she can see the difference in his persona based on what's going on. But it's one of those. What's it say?
The Priyanka Chopra neck rolls. Sorry,
Did you search that or
I
somebody else
sure
posted
did.
that?
No, somebody else posted that,
Oh.
but I searched it because that's one of the things that I noticed.
That's a superficial woman thing
It
then,
is.
because I didn't even notice.
Priyanka Chopra has these deep neck lines or rolls, but
And
she's never been chunky.
I've never noticed that whatsoever.
There's a whole discussion of how
That's it. I bet it's all women.
people of a certain culture have deeper neck lines
It's all
than
women
others.
because they're all superficial.
Sorry.
Does
That's
Celine
just
Dion have them? We don't know because she wears a
No,
turtleneck.
because she's super thin and whatever. One of the things that was interesting to me, because it was Celine Dion, I went and looked it up. You know, lately Celine Dion had to cancel her tour. She's been very ill. She has this rare neurological disorder that causes total body muscle
Does it cause
spasms.
neck wrinkles?
No, but it actually like seizes her vocal cords.
I know.
So I was like, how did she do this movie? This movie was filmed during COVID. It's taken that long
you can
to come
tell.
out.
You can tell because the end sequence when it's showing her performance,
Mm-hmm.
they're all on the screen stuff, singing and doing stuff. You can tell that was shot
separate.
during COVID thing.
Well, they actually said no one actually shot with her. Even that scene where he's like leaning like this, talking to her, he said they just did an amazing job, you know, filming it in. They were actually together. The couple was together, and just a few people. Why does it take so long for movies to come out? Like this was shot years ago.
Well, if it was shot around through COVID, then it's also trying to find a release date where the theaters and because this movie came out to theaters, but it kind of came and went.
Yeah.
But you got to remember how things have been. Like there's a standard thing if you shoot a movie, then it goes into an editing process, like a music process, and then sound mixing, and then they have to go back and do voiceover work and recut dialogue that didn't come good on sound, or there's sounds messing up things. You know, then you got to get things cleared, and like with her music, there's probably different versions that maybe she said I don't like that version of that song, use this one, or who knows. And then you have a movie like this. Doesn't want to have to compete against something like a Top Gun.
Yeah,
Mission
so you
Impossible.
had to find a good weekend.
You got to find a weekend
where nothing else is happening.
But then you also want to find a weekend. This has probably been one of those that probably would have normally been put out like on a Valentine's Day weekend, but it probably had something else that weekend. So it's like, but we're not ready for this one. You know, so there's so many variables that happen, and then sometimes it gets locked up in like a studio thing or some kind of a change. You know, if a studio was sold to something else and it was bought by them, and you know, who knows if COVID. They decided that we're going to say, well, you know, because a lot of stuff during COVID was like, well, we're not going to put it in the theaters. We're going to put it on Netflix. We're going to put it on Amazon. And so that stuff was sold. And then they're like, no, maybe we won't. We'll hold it, you know.
Yeah.
You never know. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it can be something as simple as she's too busy with another project to promote this one. So let's wait until she's available, you know.
Yeah.
Because she's the backbone of the whole movie. Like, even though he
really is.
It's a dual starring thing with both of them. You know, the story's kind of started with her.
Yeah.
So, shh.
Sabine, you have to be quiet.
No. So
anyways, she just wants to go out and bark at the birds or the neighbors.
Come here.
Because I put them out before the show.
I know that. I put them out before you put them out.
Give her that.
Give her what, the whole bowl?
Yeah. No, keep her quiet. Anyways. I think check it out, especially if you're a fan of Celine Dion, love movies, that whole thing.
It's not great, it's not bad.
If you really like Priyanka, because I know there are people that just love everything she does.
I really like it. Well, and it's weird, it's kind of just happened over the last few years. I've just become a fan. Can I eat that burnt chip? Eat it. Are you too good for a burnt chip?
Yeah, I was too. I didn't eat it.
Why did you put where the bowl's going?
Because I'm trying to get them where on the screen.
And don't leave crap all over. You keep leaving crap all over the place.
I know.
You leave drinks in here and tissues on the floor.
I know, and that last drink I left had.
The last house, there's always like open candy. So you're just a nasty human.
I found somewhere there's a box with just a bunch of candy in it. Now I've lost it again. I found it and then I was like,
how do you lose a box of candy?
Because it was a box, and inside the box there are several candies. And so.
You talking about your peanut patty things?
No, this is in the bedroom somewhere. Where's my
candy? What's bedroom candy?
Because in my nightstand I have bedroom candies. In my office I have office candies. And in my purse I have sneaking in candies.
You're never allowed to ask me to buy you a candy when I'm out again.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Because then I'll ask her something like, honey, do you have anything sweet? She goes, no. And then she'll pull something. So I thought you said, no, I didn't have any for you. You don't need any candy.
I'm also trying to help you because you don't need anything.
And if I buy a candy, which I rarely eat anymore, somebody needs to follow suit. I'm like, she keeps giving me a lecture. You don't need to be eating that.
I don't.
She's got like a drawer full of cookies and candies.
I'm not all trying to lose weight like you are.
Well, maybe you need to rethink your life for this.
No, I'm fine.
So anyway,
check out the movie Love Again.
Well, there's no love in this room right now.
All right. I think also if you're a fan of what's his name, because he's in that other
I have no idea
show.
who that is.
Sam Hugan. He's in what's that show? Is it Highlander? Outlander. He's Outlander. Anyways, he's the Outlander guy. So if you're into that,
I'm about to come shut the door in your face.
I think you should. Honestly, that's what I would do.
No.
We can't have you being loud on the show.
No.
Go shut the door. Then she's gonna start scratching at the door. Or just gonna leave her outside. She can stay out there forever. That's what she wants. Sorry, guys. And we're also getting used to a new house, being in a new space, and to go take her outside is going to be a little journey. You need to. She's just going to scratch at the door if you just close the door. Go put her out. All right. We're in the middle of a live show and you're playing with the dog. Come on. Lord have mercy. All right. Moving on. Okay, you're just going to have to, I'm sorry, friends. We have to pause for a second. Moving on. I don't know what's happening. He disappeared. I hear him now in the kitchen. All right. Let's move on. I don't have to wait. I'm also navigating a new computer, so hold on. Babe, you gotta come for the next one. All right. This next movie is insane, over the top, crazy, bloody, action-packed, and I loved it.
You're gonna talk about that movie without me?
I was just introing it.
Why didn't you start the movie you saw without me?
Because I want you to be here for part of the discussion.
Okay, but I'm not here.
Babe, I hadn't done anything. I was talking back about
You've just been sitting here in silence the whole time? What kind of show is this?
Waiting for you to come back. Because I hear him in the kitchen, guys. Lord, okay, here we go. This movie.
I hate this movie.
Sisu. No, you didn't. We loved this movie. It was so good.
It's from the same director and star of Rare Exports.
Did
you ever watch Rare Exports?
I think so.
It's like Swedish or Finnish or whatever it is, where they find Santa Claus and he's a crazy person.
Yes.
The movie's amazing if you've never seen it.
We recommend.
This movie is kind of like, I don't know if anybody said this or not, but it feels like it's a mashup of like the sentiments of John Wick merged with Quentin Tarantino. Set in World War II.
Correct. There's so much happening in this movie.
And I have a cookie.
And then she's now wanting to come inside. I just heard her. Oh, well. You're staying out now, sister. Okay. So, we're in World War II. Nazis are invading.
We're not.
Okay, the movie. The Nazis are going through all the different countries in Europe. And this guy's out in the country digging for gold. And he minding his business, found some gold. He's like, hey, I'm gonna take my gold to the bank.
Is that what he said?
Yes. And then Nazis are in the way, so craziness ensues.
The only thing Nazis ever did good in the world was become the best villains. You put a Nazi in a movie, you immediately got the perfect villain.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. Why is this not on?
And there are plenty of Nazis getting destroyed in this movie.
Yeah, that's good.
This movie is bloody, chaotic, insane,
crazy,
over the top.
Over the top.
Sometimes highly unbelievable, but in the best way possible. And I love this movie. This movie will most likely be in one of my top 10 this year.
I like this dude. And some of the stuff he does just seems kind of practical, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But in reality, like, nobody's going to be there sewing themselves up, burning their wounds open. I mean, there's just so much crazy.
He's clearly more than meets the eye. But he's not a transformer. The story is super simple. Like literally the story she just described is it. There's no other big twists and turns. There's no.
He's in Rare Exports.
I know that. I said that.
I didn't know he was in
the
it.
director and he's the star.
I didn't realize that.
I said that at the beginning.
I didn't pay attention.
But it doesn't waste any time getting to the meat of it. Like it gives you just enough information to know where we're at, see him find gold, and then murders start happening.
Yes, and I really like that we got this guy. I mean, because you don't expect someone, I guess, of this age group or whatever to be so badass and just start. But I think that's what's awesome. And, you know, he's doing realistic fighting. That's what I said. Things like, oh, that makes sense. There are some things that are just like, okay, nobody would survive this, but you just got to let it go at some point.
But it's so cool and fun to watch. You don't care.
No. And I like the other part.
I never once went, oh, my God, that's so dumb. I'm done like, ha ha.
Yes, me too. I was enjoying it. And my favorite thing happens, but with a tank. Loved that. My other favorite thing was the group of women. There's this whole group of women that have been captured by the Nazis. And they're being carted
She loves captured women.
And no, I like women fighting back. That's what I'm all about.
But there's not a lot you can say about this movie because it's
just the man's just trying to take his gold to
it's
the
a
bank.
full-on violent. I mean, and I'm talking the violent level horror film violence, action flick though. But it's
explosion, shooting.
It's awesome. It's ridiculous. It's just all around badass. It has no qualms of what it is. It knows exactly the movie they're giving you, and it has the perfect ending.
So awesome.
But also leaves it to where we could see more of this guy if we wanted to because of the time period, or even a prequel because there's a cool backstory to him that would be cool to explore. So it's one of those movies that I would love to see more of these guys bring this guy back to just to kill people. But I also hope they don't because it's such a perfect film as it is.
Yeah, I think it's really good. You just need to check it out. We can't tell you too much. Don't want to give it away.
Just know it's very bloody, very violent.
It's good.
It's so
good.
So fun, so awesome. It's just one of those movies that comes along, it punches you in the face, and you're like, hell's yeah.
I love it. It was good. Top movie of the year, babe?
Yeah, it will be on my. It will definitely be on my top 10.
All right.
I know the year is still young, and there's other stuff can push it out, but
is the year still young? We're halfway through, so
it's still young. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff coming out.
I guess so.
But I can see this being one of those.
Because I can't deal with this dog tearing up my house.
Well, I can't do anything because I don't control anything.
You just stand there.
I can see this one being one that fluctuates on that top 10 no matter what. So if you haven't seen Rare Exports, I killed time because you ran away. It's super awesome. It's basically people that find Santa Claus. I don't remember if he's frozen or if they find him in a cage or something. It's not a kid's movie. It's not a family film. Santa Claus is a maniac. It's borderline to horror flick. So it's another one that's pretty awesome. So check out the Sisu, but also check out Rare Exports. I don't know what this dog's problem is. She's come up here running and she's knocking through everything.
She's hyped up.
Huh?
She's hyped up and my knee hurts now.
Anyway.
Ooh, and she smells. You smell like outside. Okay. That's all. Moving on. Whew.
Okay, let's move on.
I did some running. Tired.
You don't ever do any kind of running.
I just did. It was horrible. All right, next.
You gonna talk about yours?
So is this like the highest grossing movie? I know it's number one.
Yeah, so there was a big hype of Barbenheimer.
Yes.
Which was the hype of people, for some weird reason, jumped together and started saying the double feature of Oppenheimer and Barbie, two movies that are completely polar opposite.
But they're both good.
Well,
right?
We both assume they are because you've seen one and I've seen the other.
Yeah.
But Barbie did end up making like $155 million this weekend, which is surprising and not surprising at the same time. But before we talk about the movie, I want to talk about the controversies.
We need a little controversy.
Which is not really a controversy. It's people that are stupid.
People that are dumb.
For those of you that want to talk about Barbie being a woke movie or the propaganda of the movie or any of that kind of stuff, first of all, Greta Gerwig is directing it. So you know you're going to get some sort of feminist basis. I don't want to say agenda, but basis in the story she's telling of a strong woman. And I'm not talking about man-hating feminist. I'm talking about a strong empowerment to women in status and everything else. But Barbie's been that since the day it was incepted, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a thing that gave women houses and cars and careers and stuff when actual real life women could not have any of those things.
Correct.
And for anybody that thinks Barbie is something different in this movie, I've never seen the movie. And I can tell you that there's nothing in this movie that's different than what Barbie's brand has been since day one. When did Barbie start?
1959.
1959. So you think about what women were allowed to have and or do.
Absolutely nothing.
Yet Barbie comes along. She can be a doctor. She can wear leg warmers. She can have a Corvette. She can have a dream house. They can have 35 dream houses.
Yeah.
You know, and Ken was just her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And you can look at that and say, well, it's demoralizing men by making them stay by the woman. But it was basically the culture switch of that's what real life what he was men holding women down. Mm-hmm. I'm more important. I'm in charge. I can be a doctor. And I've seen in the trailer where he talks about I can be a doctor. I can this, but I'm a man. You know, and that's not making fun of men. That's making fun of the product that is Barbie, in my opinion, because that's saying, well, because I'm a man, I can do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. You can't be that because you're a woman. It was that feminist, that male chauvinistic, both sides ideas that they both serve.
Correct.
And
I think, well, yes and no, because when you
I'm going by just the trailer from seeing the little thing and connecting to the normal Ken Barbie mythos.
Well, I think the other thing it's explored in the movie is that Ken is kind of the forgotten figure. Like, it's Barbie and Ken.
Yeah.
He's never his own person. He's never his own man. We don't really know.
The brand is always Barbie.
It's Barbie. We don't have a Ken backstory that Ken's going to go become a doctor. So that's why it's funny when he comes.
It's Ken with different outfits.
Yeah, it's, you know, and he's Barbie's boyfriend. That's all we know. But when he comes to the real world and finds out that men kind of rule the real world, that's when he's like, well, okay, I can be a doctor like Barbie.
Gotcha.
I can be a lawyer like Barbie. Just let me do it because I'm a man. So it's that kind of juxtaposition of the whole thing. The interesting thing, though, like you said, people don't know their Barbie history. I think if you watch the Tiny Shoulders, is that what it was? That
documentary thing?
Yes.
I think so.
Well, Greta told them watch this documentary. Like, that was their homework. And there's an interview with America Ferrera, who's, by the way, amazing, gives the best.
She's not a Barbie, is she?
No.
She's like in the real world.
She's in the real world.
Okay.
Works for Mattel. She gives the best monologue that I think is going to get her nominated for something. It is amazing. It's powerful. It's impactful. It's
How
true.
Convenient. The Hispanic woman likes the Hispanic woman.
Anywho,
but
if you go back in history, when Barbie was created, like you said, in the 50s, the creator it's like, I don't want it to be a baby doll. Why do we always tell girls you can only be a mom? That was the whole idea.
Yeah.
Like, we want you to grow up to be an adult woman that can do whatever. So that's why she didn't want to create another baby doll. She wanted to create an adult doll, like an adult looking doll, on purpose.
Well, I think back then we already had like the G.I. Joe. So we had the boys had the same doll, but they were soldiers and superheroes and whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we couldn't have anything, you know, just babies. And by the way, I never had any baby dolls because they creeped me out.
Well, that's because women were always told you were supposed to be a mom.
Yeah, well, and that didn't happen. So
you're a mama, bitch.
I am a mom. I just didn't birth anything because I think that's gross, personally.
Okay, we didn't need to get into
super feminist.
We didn't need to get into your anti-children propaganda.
I know. Sorry, I'm anti-children. I'm not one of those weirdos though that has. I'm not gonna say you're a weirdo. I'm not one of those people that has like armpit hair and all that because that's too much.
Did you say you're not gonna say I'm a weirdo?
No, I'm saying they're not weirdos. If you want to do that.
No,
I'm not that.
They're not weird. That's just gross. Like, I have armpit hair and it grosses me out. I need to shave it.
Yeah. Well, there's those people that like armpit hair.
I know.
Leg hair.
I don't understand how
free
growing
bleeding,
hair.
like,
I don't understand what not wearing a bra makes you.
That's
more
just
empowered.
uncomfortable to me.
Yeah, that's what I'm going by the statements like you say.
Up here.
Like, I'm not saying that I think anybody should have to wear a bra. I don't care.
I don't care, but
it seems uncomfortable.
I just want
so not.
I want. Anywho, we're getting all off topic.
Whatever. No, we're not. We're still a feminist agenda of Barbie.
And that's the thing. It's not a feminist agenda. It's just Barbie. So if you have a problem with women being doctors, lawyers, astronauts, whatever they want to be, then you have the problem, not Barbie. How about that?
Well, what's weird is, like, I know, I forgot who it was now, was coming out and was talking about that same thing. And, like, nobody cares that Barbie, you're a fictional Barbie, you can't be wants to be a doctor or whatever. They care about, they want to make Barbie a boy. And they're basically trying to punch in the trans argument to something that's not there.
Yeah.
You know, but
anyways, the cool thing about the movie in general is they got everything right with the set, with the decoration, the dream houses, the car.
They didn't have any pink in this movie, did they?
The entire thing was pink. When I went to the screening, everyone was wearing pink, even the guys. Some of them were dressed as Barbie. Some were just wearing pink Barbie shirts. Everyone was into it. I think that's what I love. Barbie brings people together, whether you want to believe it or not, because everybody has a memory of a Barbie doll, right? Like I had regular classic Barbie. And I wrote in my review, like I would save up money to go buy clothes, and you could buy the little pack of clothes and had the clothes and the shoes and everything. And we'd go to the store. I mean, it was just a cool thing to dress her up.
My only memory of Barbie,
bring her up her elevator in her dream house.
was like I hated playing it. My problem with Barbie and Ken and all that stuff, I didn't like how big it was, but I was so used to Star Wars figures and stuff. Like even when He-Man came out, and they were the bigger thing. They were like, what?
Bulky.
I do remember a cousin I think had a Barbie, and I had a He-Man, so I had He-Man flexing at her, trying to date her. I'm like, you look at that Ken. I had He-Man beating up Ken, like doing the kick in the sand on the beach at Ken.
That's awesome.
But I was always insanely intrigued by the feet. I'm like, why is this foot like this? It's weird.
Yeah.
And I would always like trying to bend it, thinking to readjust it, and you couldn't. And it just weirded me out.
Well,
I know they deal with that in the movie, but
it's in the movie.
It just weirds me out. It's still to this day, looking at her feet weirds me out.
I know. And then they do address some of the diversity things. They address some of the one-hit wonders of Barbies that were put out, never to be brought back again. The different versions. They address the.
How was Crazy Barbie? Because I love her anyway.
She was awesome.
Awesome.
By the way, because everybody had a crazy Barbie. I did too, because my brother cut the hair off of Barbie. And wrote all over it, wrote like fart on her forehead. So I had a crazy fart Barbie.
He wrote fart on her forehead?
Fart.
Nice.
And cut her hair off. So yeah, everybody has a crazy Barbie.
People either played with Barbies or assaulted Barbies, apparently.
But I had the dream house and the pool and the van and the whole thing. Anyway, but they deal with all of the supposed kind of fart Barbie.
I'm gonna buy you a fart Barbie.
They had all the crazy, every crazy thing that people talk about.
Did that just say Oreo Barbie?
Yes, there's an Oreo Barbie. I don't know why. She had an Oreo purse. But they also deal with the idea that people say, oh, Barbie is just giving women a bad image. Like they can never live up to the Barbie standard measurement. You guys, it's a doll.
Yeah, nobody gives a crap.
If you're basing yourself on a doll or on what somebody else looks like, that's a whole different situation.
I'm going to say this, and I know being a man, it can be taken out of context. And this isn't even about the feminist agenda thing. This is about nobody gives a crap about anything until somebody makes a big deal about it. So when you personally are upset by somebody like Barbie's shape, I've never once looked at Barbie and goes, man, this is a bad image of women. I looked at it and said, this doll is shaped weird. Because I'm like, this doesn't look like a human. So I never once thought, I need a lady to look like that. Why does my wife look like she ate that?
I sure do.
I don't think any of that. And the same thing, I don't look at Ken and go, oh.
I need to have my six-pack on.
But I've never looked at a G.I. Joe. I've never looked at a He-Man figure or anything else.
Why do you think women do that? Like they look at someone or something or and be like, why? And then why
do they look at somebody's neck rolls?
Yes. Like I did with Priyanka.
I don't know. And that's what I'm saying.
Do you not have anyone you're like, I would like to have that dude's body? But you don't fixate on it.
Yeah, no, I look at it like a Scott Adkins or a Schwarzenegger, and I'm like, man, I wish my shoulders were like that. But then I think, how do I make my shoulders like that? I don't go, that person's giving me a bad image.
Or they're making me feel bad.
I either get inspired or I say, I don't care. That's not who I am.
I wonder why women do that.
And I know there's a societal thing of, the mentality of, I know this is very extreme, but the men and women separation of something, say like sex. If a woman wants to have sex with everybody and anybody, she's a slut. If a guy does it, he's a player and he's cool. And it's the same thing. But the problem is you have people that keep making a big deal about it, and you have other people that want to fight about it. And I think the people fighting about it are just as bad as the people that are trying to start the fight, because then it keeps it a thing.
Yeah.
Now not everything is like that. I don't think that's the same as, you'll hear some people talk about racism. If we don't talk about it, it'll go away. That's bullshit. That's just people are crazy. But if you make a big deal about a toy, then somebody else is going to make a big deal about it. If you just don't buy your kid a Barbie, the problem is gone. It no longer affects your life.
Correct.
But
That's what I'm like. What if it's something bothers you, just don't do it, don't watch it, don't
Like if
listen,
I don't watch,
don't
if I don't like a
support.
book, if I don't like a movie, if I don't like a comic book, if I don't like a drink, I don't like you. I get rid of it. I get rid of it and find the thing that I like. Correct. I don't sit here and let me tell you how horrible the X-Men are this year. I'll be like, oh, this latest story of the X-Men sucked. I'm going to read Spider-Man instead. Mm-hmm. Problem solved, because somebody likes that. Yeah. And it ain't me, right? Somebody and it doesn't matter. It's stupid. And there's so many things that have been ruined, like franchises and culture and things of like people's love for stuff that has been ruined all because somebody feels the need to make it their agenda to destroy something that has no effect on their life. And it's always the people that have nothing to do with it. We were talking about this earlier today at class because we were talking about my grandmother, who's no longer with us, love her, but after class. And my grandmother's a little bit racist. Yeah, we were just talking about old stuff that was like, we called her, I always referred to her as an unintentional racist. Like she didn't dislike black people or people of color. She just came from that time and she said things she shouldn't be saying. And it was stereotypes and stuff. But we were talking about like the idea of people saying that, say, Hispanic people are coming over and taking everybody's jobs. Mm-hmm. But if you sit back and look at it, they're taking all the jobs that the people that are complaining about it would never do.
Correct.
Nobody that's fighting the good fight about you coming over and being a cook or being a cleaner or doing construction or driving a truck, none of those people are going to be doing that job. It's the people that need those jobs that don't care because they have those jobs.
Yeah.
Because they know they can get them. It's that creating the agendas are not there.
Yeah.
And Barbie's always fought against that stereotype stuff. Mm-hmm. And so for people to really think that, I know I haven't seen the movie, but it's been killing me more than anybody that's ever bashed a movie before. This just sheer stupidity of clearly not knowing what the brand Barbie is, and then trying to say this movie is woke.
Yeah.
Barbie is probably the most woke thing ever from the beginning.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. I don't mean that as an insult. No. So.
Yeah,
how did you feel when? I was curious to hear. What did you feel when you left the movie? I know you're, I guess, a fan of Barbie. I thought you hated Barbies, but.
No, I never hated Barbie. I was a fan. I had tons of them.
So what was your feeling when you left it? Like, how did you just feel? Not like, what did you think of the movie? Like, how did you feel?
I felt happy. It was fun. Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard. There's so many funny moments, and I was cracking up. I was having a good time. I was singing some songs. If I could describe a feeling, I felt pink. I mean, I felt like that happy, springy sensation. Like everyone was happy. It was so fun.
I was not having the same experience
no,
at the same time.
Your movie.
Because I was
we were watching the two movies at the same time, different movies.
Yeah.
I was at Barbie and you were in Oppenheimer, but yeah, it's an uplifting, feel-good movie.
So people know, I said I haven't seen the movie. I haven't not seen the movie because I don't want to see the movie. Now when they announced it, I'm like, I'm not watching that stupid movie. Because here's my thing. There's been other Barbie movies. They were always animated, and they were trash. Mm-hmm. They were like CGI. They looked like the dolls. It was just this weird, just junk movies. And I'm also not the core audience for that specific movie that made it at the time. I've been telling you from day one, the first trailer they released, that this movie's going to either be a genius or a train wreck, and I want to see it either way.
Yeah.
I had every intention of seeing this movie this morning. But between some art deadlines and working, I just decided, you know what? You've already seen it. I'm going to wait. Plus, I've been moving for months. First day, I didn't have to move anything, so I wanted to rest. So I'm still planning to watch this movie. I will give my thoughts once I see the movie, whether it be while it's in theater or on Blu-ray or whatever. We'll get to it, and I'll make my point.
And I also posted a link in the chat to the Tiny Shoulders documentary. I think it's really good. Oh, the other thing everybody should watch is this is so bizarre, but it reminds me of Barbie. It's the the little short the short movie that was made with Barbie dolls of the Karen Carpenter story. Have you ever watched it? It's so fun. I'll go find it. Okay. It's random.
Anyway,
Karen Carpenter.
Barbie is in theaters now. It's massive hit, so I'm sure there's a chance we might end up with another Barbie movie. Is there anything there that they could make a sequel in the way it's set up, or is it really kind of it is?
No.
They do stuff where they could do another.
Yes, you could continue.
I mean, it's a brand, so I can't imagine they're going to just let it be a one-off if it's this massive.
Yeah.
But I don't know how well do you think it would work if they had to recast it? What is your feeling? Because you always seem to have this weird on and off thing with and against Margot Robbie. What did you think of her as
She
Barbie?
was actually really good.
The feet thing.
Yeah.
Like she held her feet there. They talk about doing CGI to how to help with it and stuff. But she's like, no, she did it for real. And
yeah.
She said basically
it's not hard to stand on your tiptoes.
It is when you have to walk long periods of times and when you're having to hold it through numerous takes. And it's like doing a calf raise. She had like a thing to hold on to, but then you had to keep it at a certain place. You know, she had to step out of the shoe and step and not put the feet down and not let it give.
Yes.
So it became very hard.
Yeah.
But she was also apparently a dancer at some point, whatever, so it made it a little easier to do some things. How were her hands?
Big, but that's okay.
She
also has big feet.
She has this weird thing talking about her hands. I've never once noticed it.
She's got big hands and big
Again,
feet,
it's another superficial woman thing.
Just
like I've never looked at a guy and like, man, look at the hands on that guy. Unless it was like some gigantic monster like Andre the Giant.
You never looked at me and like, oh, your feet are like so big.
You?
Yeah.
No,
you never. No, I'm saying you never look at another dude and be like, oh, your feet are so big.
Not unless he's like Andre the Giant big. It has to be like this. Like I'm not looking at Ryan Gosling and go, dude, that dude's got some big feet. Never looked at anybody's feet like that. Never looked at their hands. I've never.
Like my friend Sean, like I'm like, dang, your feet are not just flat; they're like going inside.
Okay, that's different. That's just weird.
I look at people's feet.
But we're also barefooted all the time. That's a different thing.
I look at people's feet. So I look at your toes. Do you take care of your toenails? Did you get your pedicure done?
Maybe you need to. Maybe that's why you have some issues in class. Maybe you need to be focused on my class instead of bare people's feet.
I have to look at people's feet.
Oh,
and then I was also looking at the kids' little toesies because she fell asleep with me in my chair and she was here, and she's got like little sausage toesies.
You're talking about her granddaughter.
Yes.
You just randomly start talking about a child's toes like you're staring at some weird kid.
Yeah, no, she's ours. It's okay.
It's okay. I'm weird with.
It's okay. She's related to us. But then I was like, oh, I need to cut this toenail. So I was like, I wish I could get up and get toenail clippers and be like.
Oh,
anyway, sorry.
Anyway, Barbie's in theaters now. If you're one of the 3 people like myself that haven't seen it at this point, go check it out. Go see it a bunch of times. The best way to beat these jerk people is to keep giving it money.
Yeah, I guess.
Moving on. What else we got?
Didn't know we had. Oh, we're to this one.
Is this the last one?
This is the last
one. All right.
Tell me about Oppenheimer.
So while you were having a Barbie good time,
I was having a Barbie good time.
I was learning about the atomic bomb, watching Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer.
This movie makes me feel like I'm going to be sad.
Which is, first of all, so I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan. I don't think there's a movie he's made that I haven't loved. Now, depending on how you feel about his sound mixing and things like this that he does in his films, there's some movies that were intentionally overbearing with sound.
That one movie was just like, what did he say? But then
like Dunkirk was like, oh, you're supposed to have trouble hearing it. And then there's other movies that's just like Tenet was a little louder for me, but it was loud by design, but then my bad hearing made it harder for me.
And then there were the parts where they were going in reverse and the sound was reversed.
Yeah.
You weren't the only one that had problems. Like people.
No, I know. There's been a lot of
people. Was it reversed? I'm like, yeah, it was reversed, man.
But
it was interesting though.
I will say first, this is probably the most normal sound mixed.
No.
That I've seen him do in a while. Don't get me wrong. There's some crazy loud sounds. There's some weird stuff. It's very Christopher Nolan. It just wasn't throughout, like a lot of the movies he does is. This movie is 3 hours, so you already know you're walking into this long epic.
It's going to be a talkie, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a talkie.
And my screening started 45 minutes late, so that was already an agenda.
It's horrible.
And so I got home at like midnight-ish watching the screening, and it was really looking like it wasn't going to happen. This was no fault of the theater or the people.
It happens, man.
They weren't fully, from my understanding, and I don't know this for a fact, there was just some issues with the print. And I don't know if we were seeing the 75 millimeter print that's the one going around, or if we were seeing a digital print. I'm wondering if it's 75 millimeter print because there was an overlap situation that shouldn't have happened. It didn't affect really it didn't hurt the film. I'm not going to go into it, but
I think that's probably why they were late, because they weren't prepared to like set up the reel.
Yeah, so I don't know, but anyway, the movie itself stars Cillian Murphy, or I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Robert Downey Jr. Hold on, everybody and their grandmother's in this. Matt Damon. Thank you. Who else was it? Florence Pugh.
Pew pew pew.
It's just all sound effects for everybody's names that she has. Hold on, I lost it. Josh Hartnett's in here. Rami Malek, Kenneth Branagh, Dane DeHaan.
Everybody.
Alden Ehrenreich, whatever, the guy that played Han Solo.
Yes.
Matthew Modine, and
Oh,
some
I
other
like him.
people. There's a lot of people in this movie, and so if you don't know, it's about Robert J. Oppenheimer, the man who created the atomic bomb. He's known as the father of the atomic bomb.
Poor thing.
And it's kind of this double story. It's an interesting format that I think you would probably like better than just a straight story.
Yes.
It doesn't just follow him. It's basically starting with the questioning / Senate hearings after the fact. And so it's him and different people that were involved with the building of the bomb and the dropping of the bomb and all the stuff that happened, and then cutting back to all the things. So you're getting the history of him getting from being into this world of science, his visions and what he sees, to the point where they built the bomb, tested the bomb, dropped the bomb, and how he felt about it after the fact. And then the government that turned on him and all the things of them trying to make him the scapegoat for things that happened. And then you're dealing with the world of communism.
Yeah, because it feels like
it's during the time where there's all the people that were being
50s.
accused of being communists.
Yeah, it's the 50s, right? So
then he was known as a womanizer, and so there's the whole thing of his Emily Blunt's in it as well. She plays his wife. You're dealing with that. Florence Pugh is essentially his mistress. So it's this whole dynamic of a lot of story that needed to be 3 hours.
And it's interesting too, because obviously they brought him on board as part of the Atomic Energy Commission.
They did not bring Oppenheimer on board this movie.
No, I'm just saying it's part of the Atomic Energy Commission.
Yeah,
and then they turned it around on him and be like, well, why did you do this? So and it's interesting, and if you go through the McCarthyism, the communism.
Yeah, some of my favorite scenes in the movie are the interviews. Because like Matt Damon plays the colonel or the general or whatever he is that comes and says, I'm going to bring you to make this bomb and do this work. And he's kind of like one of his only friends that isn't in the science world, but they also have this dysfunctional relationship because he's very military, but he also believes in him, and so you see that. And Robert Downey Jr. is the character, I forgot his name, but anyway, he's the person that actually appoints him and is kind of his cheerleader the whole time.
Oh, this is the Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's what the whole thing is.
That's a whole other movie.
Yeah.
No, but it's interesting because then he has to come before this commission to answer. But it's like, you brought me onto this project, government, to do this.
Well, and there's a whole thing too. Is like his wife is saying, "Why are you not standing up to these people and fighting?" He goes, "Why?" He goes, "They've already decided what they're going to do," kind of thing. And she's mad. Like there's a scene. I'm not going to say who it is. There's a scene that somebody basically betrays him during the one of the interviews. And Oppenheimer is sitting in the interviews with him, so he's hearing everything every person ever says.
Gosh, that's horrible.
And this is a closed door thing, separate from the Senate hearings, right? And because Robert Downey Jr.'s Krause. Anyway, I don't remember the character's name now. Senator or whatever he is, who's on his way to being in the presidential cabinet. He's having speaking in front of the Senate and all this stuff, and so you're seeing all his trying to support because he was pretty hands-on of putting him in charge of these things. And then the general brought him in to make the bomb and do these different ideas. And there's a scene where this guy who was someone who you thought was kind of his right hand or his helper or his friend during the entire project, and I'm not gonna tell you which one because there's a few of them that it could be, basically lies. It says something, right? So as he leaves, he's like, I'm sorry. And he shakes out, and Oppenheimer shakes his hand. And his wife's like, why would you shake his hand? So there's a scene later that it circles back where I believe he got a Nobel Peace Prize or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is now. But anyway, he got recognition for something when he's old. And that same guy is there. And him and the wife are there, and the guy shakes his hand and puts his hand up the wife, and she's still like, and it's like
that'd be me.
It's this very, at first, it's for exactly what I thought. It's this very subtle of you understand why he shook his hand. You understand why he's let it go, but the wife, she doesn't have to. And it's Emily Blunt. She's got this look about her, and she's just like, and that guy sees it in her eyes like, that's the same face I got all those years ago. It's a great scene.
But that's what I'm telling you. In Spanish, it's called Los Saludos.
Florence Pugh is most excellent.
You always shake the hand. You always say hi, no matter who it is. Yeah. That's one of the just things. Okay, tell me about
Anyway, Florence Pugh is most excellent in the film. I don't want to say she's crazy, but I do think there's some mental health stuff there with that character and what they do. And I'm not going to tell you the stuff I told you.
You know what? She's so good at diving deep into the emotion and the mentality of these crazy characters.
Actually, I'm going to talk about it.
Because, I love her in Midsommar, but I also loved her in that Darling, what was the movie? Don't Worry, Darling, or
Oh,
whatever.
that weird movie.
Yeah, but you know, like she has to go there.
Yeah.
And well, from what you
Well,
sound on this, she's like
I
going all
am
in.
gonna tell you because I want to give him props. She's naked in a lot of the movie.
Yeah.
There's some sex scenes and there's literal scenes of her, like it's not showing her chaunch, but it shows her boobs a lot. Like I'm talking, not side boob, I'm talking about like she's sitting in a chair and you see her full on boobs. And I was taken aback because it's one of those things that, not that I didn't want to see it, but it's like,
whoa.
Peter's just naked. What? You know, and it's that thing when you see somebody you never expect to be that.
Mm-hmm.
But it fits the story perfect because of the situation.
If it's for the story,
and he's been doing a lot of like, I've been really impressed with him in press.
This guy?
Yes, he's been Cillian Murphy. He's the guy from 28 Days Later.
Right.
And he's a Scarecrow in Christopher Nolan's Batman.
Well, he was naked in 28 Days Later.
Yeah, but he's been like full
naked.
on praising her and her bravery and what she did in the scene.
Because I was saying that's a lot to just go.
No, and there's been people posting like saying stuff. If your man's not like how Cillian Murphy's treating Florence Pugh, then you're in a bad relationship. Like he's been running around really praising what she did in the movie and how she did with it and how she had to handle it, because she had to be so more open, mostly physically and everything than some of the other characters.
Just all in.
You know, but she's excellent. Everybody's great.
I
And
think
Robert Downey
amazing,
Jr. is so good here.
Is he?
He's always good, but this is another one of those things. Now, there's two moments in the movie
I was just reading about this
that are kind of edge of your seat. Most of the movie is a slow burn.
Slow.
It's dialogue heavy, but to me, as long as it did feel long, but it didn't feel boring ever. You know, I didn't feel like they could have trimmed this and made it a little shorter. Not once did I think. It felt, you feel how long it is.
One of the girls at work on Saturday when I saw her, she's like, "Oh, I saw it." I'm like, "It's long." She's like, "It doesn't feel long. It moves. Like
it does. It stays. The dialogues have, and it's the cuts because there's a lot of like his vision suddenly be like, you know, he's seeing the atomic bomb in his head, you know, and that's where the loud sounds come from, and then he's having epiphanies of stuff sometimes, but there's two big edge of your seat moments, and they're long. The first one is the first time they test the atomic bomb. And it's the music build up. It feels like you're watching an action sequence, even though it's literally just people setting up, getting ready to push a button. People just watching. Like there was this one guy, they're all told to lay on the match, do not turn around until you feel this such, or you see this light, and they're all given goggles because you can't look directly at it.
Right.
This one guy who's been working on it from day one, he's like, screw this. He sits in a lawn chair, puts his goggles on, and he rubs his entire face in sunscreen so that the atomic light won't burn him. And he's just like, and it's a great, almost disturbing supervillain like shot, because when he showed the sequence, he's in it, it shows his face, and the whole movie's just been like this, and as it happens you see him kind of like, and he's seeing his creation and he's just feeling it on his face. But then the sound design, I don't remember how many miles away they dropped it. All this is outside, the music is just dead silent when an explosion goes off. Then you're seeing all the people and the wind blowing, all the stuff happening, and then there's this delay, and then he goes, you know, and it's all the sound waves catching up. And, it's really cool. Like people in the theater jumped.
And it's sad that we actually have reference of what it looks and sounds like.
Yeah, people in the theater jumped
when
the sound finally hit, because you're so engulfed and engaged with what's happening on the screen, and the cuts to the different people, that when it finally hits, you're like, oh, jeez, you know. Then the second one that's a real engaging, it's a little bit different thing. Thank you. It's the end twisting. Is when you really get the reveal of everything that really was going on through the whole thing, and who was really doing what, and who was screwing over who. And it's
because I was reading this. Is this true? On purpose? I
won't tell you.
Oh my God! Oh, and I forgot this is touchscreen. Yeah,
they
really did that.
Yeah, Louis Strauss. That is. Don't read any of that because it's going to spoil the whole twisting and stuff. But yeah, seeing people that are involved that you trust through the whole movie.
Yes. Seeing
their sudden twist, finding out that, oh, this person was put here by this person to purposely screw you over, and you think this is an even thing, and you're like, there's so much stuff that happens.
That's real life. Okay.
Even if you know the history, it's still just.
Do we touch on the bomb actually being dropped?
Yes. Well, that's the second half of it. Is they get into that.
That makes me so sad.
Then
I understand we're in times of war, but they kill.
And it gets big because he starts getting accused of his direct involvement with the dropping of the bomb. But at the point of that, he was very adamant about the creation of this bomb, this creation of this power, but not necessarily the idea of using it. And that was one of his issues. His moral issue came from once it was actually created, like there's this thin line that you can argue but it's the need to get the creation and the ideas
out,
come to fruition.
Yeah.
And then the idea of the realization
of what you've just
of who you've given it to, and that they're not taking it just in case we need it. They're taking it with the intent to use it. They don't want to build a gun in case they need a gun. They're building a gun because they're going to shoot somebody with the gun. And so when we get to that point, and he's starting to see the news and they're talking about what happened, they don't show a lot of the, I was surprised, I thought they were going to go there, but they don't show a lot of the after effects, like the old classic photos of people's skin falling off. You see some elements of him giving speeches and light in people's flesh. It's not super gory, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
And so there is a point where they're questioning him, like, well, didn't you pick the target? And he goes, yes, but I didn't pick it based on this. I picked on, this is what the ideal place would be to do it. And they're like, okay, well, then why are you saying you're suddenly upset about it? You told them this is what they should do. You built the thing. You said to drop it here. But the real story is they asked him, what would be that place? How would this work? Yeah. And he's like, well, Hiroshima would be the best because there's this surroundings and it would fall out this thing. But if you go here, there's way more population here. Don't do that. Do that. You know, it wasn't, okay, where are we dropping it?
Yeah, let's kill these people, innocent people.
And so it became this whole thing of the moral guilt of the amazing accomplishment of what you've created, but the moral guilt of what they did with what you created and your direct connection to that. It's a weird gray area, in my opinion. And when you see it and you see his mentalities and his sentiments and how his feelings and what he's saying, you're like, I get both sides. But at the same time, you want to say, well, what do you think they were going to do with it? You know, it's hard to argue the point. But the movie is fantastic. It's another one that will end up on my top 10. It is that good.
Is it really that good?
Yeah, it is that good. It's not one that I think will work for everyone because of its long runtime and the fact that it's so dialogue heavy. There'll be a lot of people that may bail on it early on because it's just like it's slogging along. But it's again, it's history. It's engaging. It's interesting. It's every single person in this movie is fantastic. Even Josh Peck has a small part in this.
Okay.
You know Josh Peck is?
I think I do.
Drake and Josh?
Yes. Oh, wow.
He's got a small part in it. It's an important part. And there's another surprise person that shows up, I'm not going to say, as a major character that everybody in the theater gasped when he showed up. Because he's not on any of the list of being in the movie.
That's awesome. I love when they do that. I might want to go see it.
So I can honestly say that I may be willing to sit through this in the theater again.
Okay.
I'd like to be able to watch this with my headphones on. Because I couldn't watch with the headphones on because they didn't work for that theater screening. Anyway, it's a fantastic film. Big props for the PR people that were dealing with the screening. They were holding it down the best they can. People were being rude and angry and everything else because it got delayed.
You know what? It's a free screening.
I'm going to say Scott specifically, in case he sees this.
Yay.
Big props to you, my friend. He was holding it together. He was controlling the crowd. They had the entire lobby packed with people waiting to go in. And he was a pro holding it down, trying to get it done, keeping people calm, answering questions that he could, and not dealing with people's nonsense that didn't have to. And so I'm sorry you had to deal with that, sir, but big props to you.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll find out. I mean, they get him when he's older to get the medal, right? For the creation of, even though it was horrible.
None of these are spoilers because this is history.
But do they ever touch on the lingering effects of the radiation and the water and all that? Because I mean, they said the radiation levels went away within a few days.
I think they do talk about it, but that's not what this movie's about.
Okay.
So it's
that's
not
a whole other thing.
Yeah, it's not really about the aftermath of what the bomb did. That is there. There is a discussion about it. There is the talk about it.
Because they said people felt it for 5 years, but
you also have to remember
like generation-wise.
What we're seeing too. There's a lot of propaganda in the wartime period. So like he's giving speeches that people see him as a hero, because they killed the Japanese and people are cheering about it.
Racial and
there's like you're looking around this room, it's like a rally.
That's why I'm like, this is just gonna make me so angry.
And he's seeing the rally and he's speaking at the rally, but then there's a vision that's kind of spoiler, but not really. Is he's speaking at this rally? They're like, he's the hero of the United States because he's the one that made this bomb that got dropped and it stopped the war and blah blah blah. And he's trying to speak and he's trying to be positive. Yeah, he's trying to be positive, but all he's seeing is like the light flash, and it's almost like while he's talking, he's envisioned they're in the bomb, and you're seeing the flesh come off these people. But these people are like, dead Japanese people, you know. And it's like, it makes you angry, it makes you sad, but at the same time, you're like,
it's war, but still, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not okay.
It's an excellent movie.
I'll have to go find a different documentary about that.
I know what. Oh,
Yeah.
I will say though, I was a little disappointed, but I guess I understood it too because there was so much there. I don't know if it needed to be there. There is nothing at the end about the real man. But there was nothing left to tell the story. Yeah, that's what I didn't expect. I expected at least show a picture of him, but they didn't show him either. So I don't know if there was a thing about, because the movie doesn't really praise him. It does show him in every light of the problems in his family, the things he did, the good things he did, his thoughts, him being a jerk, him being a good person, his kind of redemption in his later years and all these things. But it also never, I almost felt like they didn't want to give him more props. You know what I mean? It was like maybe the thought process, and this is my speculation, I haven't heard this, maybe the thought was like, look, we told all the stories, so there's nothing to say in his later life. He was still married or whatever. We already know that the way the movie ends. But it's also like, we don't need to show his picture because we know what he's done. You don't need to see that man. You've seen this man for 3 hours and you know what's happened. You don't see just to see. Go look him up. He's a historical figure. It's not like a story we've never heard on some of these things where you see some maid that became a war hero that none of us have ever heard this story before.
Yeah, but I do like when they do that.
I do too.
That's okay.
I was like, it ended, it said Christopher Nolan, like, and the first thing I said is like, my wife is going to be pissed.
I love when you give me a picture.
Anyway, it's most excellent.
Now, there's been, what I've seen is some controversy that it's not exactly the story that happened. Does it say based on, it's not a drama, I mean, it's not a documentary.
They don't say anything. It's based on a book.
Oh, okay.
It's based on the book.
Somebody's like, this is
the
not
Pulitzer-Prize-winning
exactly.
book, American Prometheus: The Triumph and Tragedy of J. Robert Oppenheimer.
Okay, well, there you go.
By Kai Bird and the late Martin J. Sherwin.
Thank you, Martin J. Sherwin.
So basically, I believe it was, I don't know if those people were people from the movie. Maybe they were. There were some actual people there, but it's based on a book about it. So I'm sure there's some elements that were interchanged. But it's like you look at things like, we were watching that Kevin Hart thing. They were talking about Straight Outta Compton movie.
Yes.
There were numerous elements, and there's moments that aren't in the movie that are part of the real story, but you can't put everything in these movies. And sometimes you watch them and you see like one character that's dealing with everything, but the reality was it was 3 different people that they merged to make one character.
You can't do all that. Yeah, sometimes.
So who knows?
That's fine. All right.
In 3 hours, they put a lot of people and a lot of information there. So
there you go. Check it out.
And I wasn't there, so if you do check this movie out in theaters, go see it like in the IMAX, or I believe it was shot for the IMAX. Yeah, shot with the IMAX film camera. So if you can see it in IMAX, but also see it on the biggest, largest, loudest screen you can see.
And obviously, go do the Barbenheimer that everyone's doing. Go see Barbie and then Oppenheimer.
We've been going for about 5 hours, but
that's what people are doing.
I almost think you need to see, because people, the big argument now is which movie to watch first.
I would watch Barbie last, so that it.
I'm torn because it's like, you want to get all hyped up on happiness and then deal with this, or do you want to get through this and then get taken into happiness?
Yes, take me to happiness.
What I didn't understand is, I think I've told you about it. I saw a lot of people talking about this movie saying it was really hard to watch, or they came out affected by it.
This one?
Yeah, and I think I was expecting something
more
heavier,
hardcore,
and I don't know they never really said what affected them. So maybe it's a generation thing because I didn't live through this. Because there was a lot of old people at the screening. But maybe it's something like that people that lived through that time period of the war and know what happened and know all the race of all these things. But I thought it was impactful and powerful, but there was nothing here that just made me go, oh my God, I'm feeling off by this movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So who knows? But that happens in like horror films a lot too. Like the most terrifying movie I've ever seen. And then we watch it and we're like, it wasn't scary at all. What the heck? But it's all subjective. So
correct. All right.
Anyway, Oppenheimer is in theaters now. It was the number 2 movie, right behind the Barbie movie. So it'll be interesting to see how well it holds up.
And what was on the top? We have Barbie, Oppenheimer, Sound of Freedom still hanging on.
Yeah, I so want to see that movie, but also don't want to support the movie.
It. Yeah, Mission Impossible.
Especially after Jim Caviezel claimed that Trump was Moses.
He said he's the new Moses. I'm just like, dude.
And I love Jim Caviezel as an actor. I do.
A little bit out there now.
But ever since he played Jesus,
he was affected.
Yeah, and we were talking about this today too, and I want people to understand, I don't give 2 craps what you believe in. I don't care if you like Trump, if you like Biden, if you hate them both, love them all. I don't care any about that. I have a problem when somebody starts taking somebody and claiming they're something else, like taking a normal everyday person like a Trump or a Biden for that matter, and saying they're the next coming of Christ or they're the next Moses for that. Like that, To me, you're a little off.
Little
you
weird.
can say that they may be the next person in similar to doing things of that person. But when you flat out say they're the next coming of this, or they're the thing our people needs, I'm like, there's something else going on there that.
Okay, then we saw Mission Impossible, Indiana Jones, and Insidious. Go see Insidious. It's all right.
I do want to see The Sound of Freedom. It's supposedly a great movie.
We'll wait till it's
on
the line somewhere.
We did have, I don't know if I told you, we're all standing in the hallway, segue into this, we're all standing in the hallway for our screening to start at some point. There was two youngish men, I don't know if they were older teenagers or young adults, that came by, and they just started randomly going, have y'all seen The Sound of Freedom yet? You need to watch it. And it felt, and I bet you can't guess what they were.
Were they some white dudes?
They were stereotypical white men. And I had already heard that like weird propaganda about it, that because there's a lot of people have latched onto that film as a propaganda of child trafficking and the Republic thing and blah, 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 blah. I don't usually buy any of that stuff, but I just found it weird. It could be just two guys that love the movie and said something. It came off weird.
They're being sent out there.
It came off weird.
It feels like they're Jehovah's Witnessing me at the
Yes,
theater.
that's exactly what it felt like. Because me and 3 or 4.
Sorry, Jehovah's Witness.
No, me and 3 or 4 of the reviewers that were standing, the press people were standing outside. Right. We all were like, because nobody asked anybody anything, and nobody was
talking about.
We weren't in line. We were just all shooting the crap. We were talking about generic movies and stuff. These people were not in a conversation.
Did you ask them how much did they pay you?
No. By the time they weren't even talking to me. They were talking to people next to me, and I heard it. I turned around and I saw them as they kept walking. And I told them, I'm like, so are we all in agreement that those people are just some of the propaganda people trying to push people to see the movie? Every one of them were like, yeah. So it's weird, but I don't think they're people they're not being hired. They're not. It's just they buy into the thing and they go out. It's almost like preaching. They're like, okay, you got to go out there and tell people about this movie. Preaching. It's what we do, And then supposedly there's something that people so wanted to see this movie, want people to watch this movie, that there's a website you can go to that somebody supposedly pre-bought all these tickets. So all you got to do is just go get a free ticket and go see it.
Oh. Well,
so that's padding the numbers already. If one person buys $100,000 worth of tickets for one movie,
I wonder who's behind it.
That's not a movie doing well. That's one person bought tickets and then given the free tickets away.
That's a whole search. Who's behind the Sound of Freedom movie?
Oh, no, it's a whole thing. So anyway, that's a whole other argument for a later date. Sorry. All right, what we got next? Oh, I'm up.
Yep,
sorry. What do we got this week? This week we got some interesting stuff hitting us. We've got So I Married an Axe Murderer in 4K, which is such a fun movie.
Fun.
I rewatched it. I hadn't seen it in years. I always forget. Have you seen this movie?
Yes, many times, many years ago.
It's Mike Myers, not the slasher killer, but Austin Powers. But this has one of my favorite characters that he does, and the favorite moment. And it's such a small, stupid moment, but I used to quote it all the time. Totally forgot it was in this movie until I was sitting watching it. And he plays his dad as well. And he's like this old Jewish guy, whatever it is. And he's talking about his son who's sitting in front of the TV and he's doing something. And he's just like, look at the head on that kid. And he's like, he probably cries himself to sleep on his gigantic pillow. And I've said that to you before about your giant pillow or whatever. That came from this movie, and I totally forgot. I've been doing it for years. I'm glad you didn't hear me. I was watching it in the middle of the night, and that scene came out. I was like, holy crap. Oh, and I was about peeing myself. Then also the original Swamp Thing, written and directed by Wes Craven, is getting the 4K treatment. Nice. Love that movie as well. There's a new Resident Evil Death Island animated film, not the kind you watch.
Okay.
But
I was like, what?
I know it's a computer animated film. It's coming out on 4K. There's also a brand new Justice League animated DC movie, Justice League War World, which looks like it's going to be fun. Also, there's a lot of other stuff getting the release. World War Z's getting a 4K release. Needful Things getting a 4K release. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles getting a 4K release. I don't know which one because I didn't click on the link. But also Shout Factory is releasing some of the next sets of the Chucky films. So Cult of Chucky, Curse of Chucky, Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky are all getting a 4K release. They had already previously released 4 others on 4K, so it's added to the list.
Oh, no.
And that's pretty much it.
They're saying Sound of Freedom. It's QAnon.
Oh, yeah, I have no doubt of that.
It's them. QAnon supporters.
Does not surprise me one bit.
And they're being told they have to buy extra tickets to give away.
Yep. Those guys look exactly like what they would be. That's what I'm saying is this is not the story of this underdog movie that is doing surprisingly well. That's what press is doing. This movie is surprising. It's an underdog nobody heard of, and it's doing great. Like Paranormal Activity was that. That's what that was.
Yes.
A movie they did amazing under no budget because just word of mouth. And this is something else altogether, and it's weird.
It's QAnon, it says. Okay.
And almost every single person that cast Barbie likes Sound of Freedom. Wow. And it makes me even sadder because I've heard it's an amazing movie, and the movie could be awesome
without all that.
But who will never really know if the movie is really that good or if it's all the crap behind it.
Well, we'll tell you when we finally watch it, but I'm not going to pay for it.
No.
There's no way I'm paying for that. I'm not supporting craziness.
Yeah.
All right. People are going to think we're like.
I won't support any movie that's got an agenda like blatantly like that. If you have an agenda and it's in your movie and you just do commercials and it's out there, you go buy a ticket, fine. I'm fine with that. But when you start doing that weird crap, I ain't getting behind nothing you do.
Okay, so coming out today, I don't know if you've watched this yet, but on Paramount Plus, the new series Special Ops Lioness with Zoe Saldana. It's getting some good buzz, so hopefully we'll watch it later. Coming out tomorrow on Netflix is a documentary called Unknown Cosmic Time Machine, and it's basically following the NASA telescope that's being launched into the space station. I think it's going to be good. I got so emotional just about that last NASA documentary about the rovers. So I think I'm going to like it. Okay, coming out Tuesday.
There was before you talk about that, there was a movie that came on Netflix this week that we did talk about. We didn't actually get to watch it, so we may try to watch it next week. It's called Who Cloned Tyrone?
Yes,
which is getting some buzz.
Like they were saying what to watch this weekend is Who Cloned Tyrone.
So we still got to watch it. We'll try to talk about it next week.
Okay. Coming out on Tuesday, there's a lot of things on video demand and digital. So first is Justice League War World.
Well, I just said.
The one you said, so you can watch it. Resident Evil Death Island that you just said. See You on Venus. It's a romantic comedy about these two people that travel to Spain.
I already got a good porn name for that movie.
Wow. And then the documentary Once Upon a Time in Uganda. That looks really good. All right, coming out on Wednesday to Max, which is now the new name for HBO Max. After the Bite. It's a documentary about a community who's dealing with a shark attack that happened in their area. So that's interesting. Coming out on Thursday to Netflix is a new movie. It's being said it's a thriller. Paradise. So this seems a little bit like that movie with maybe it was Ryan Phillippe with the time thing where you can transfer hours, to someone else, like buy hours on your life. Was that Ryan Phillippe? You remember what it was? Where you could buy, and it's like, here's my wife and my daughter, and they look the same age because you could buy hours if you're rich.
Vaguely.
Okay. Well, this movie Paradise is a future, whatchamacallit?
World?
Yeah, future world, a different parallel universe. Thank you, myself. Where you can transfer years of your life from one person to another. Okay. So it's an interesting story. Are you looking that other one up? Okay.
No, something else popped up.
Also coming out to Netflix is Happiness for Beginners. It's this lady trying to figure out her life after divorce. And also coming to Netflix, The Lady of Silence, the Matavejas murders. It's about some murders that happened in Mexico City where nearly 50 women were murdered and strangled in their own homes. And so it is the hunt for that. It's a documentary. I want to see that.
How are they going to hunt this? They still already found the Red October.
The other thing talking about Mexico that I haven't seen is the movie
What the hell? Where did that come
from?
The
Chupacabra
I'm talking about a Russian sub and you went into Mexico.
Because it happened.
I wasn't listening to you.
It's about these murders that happened in Mexico, but
I didn't listen to a word.
But I want to see the Chupacabra movie. Anyway, okay, coming out on Friday, there's this little thing called Haunted Mansion. I am excited for this. We love going to Disney every year, and I love Haunted Mansion. That's my first ride.
So are we gonna
go straight there, get out, and get back in line and ride
again? That's not
again.
really a marathon, but are we gonna watch the original Haunted Mansion movie with Eddie Murphy?
It's silly, but we should.
It's not very good, but we'll rewatch it. We'll revisit it.
Also coming out at the theaters is called Sympathy for the Devil. It's
Nicolas Cage.
It's something about a carjacking, and it's
what's on a scar? Is it Skarsgård?
It's one no.
What's his name?
Joel Kinnaman, Nancy.
Joel Kinnaman, whatever.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking of.
Okay, so we'll see what's up with that. Coming out on Apple TV Plus.
Hold on, go back up. This one right here. Oh, is that only? Okay, never mind.
Coming out to Apple TV Plus is The Beanie Bubble. It's the documentary about Beanie Babies.
It's not a documentary. It's a movie.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a documentary.
No, it's a movie.
Celebrating the women.
It's a scripted film.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Is Elizabeth Banks?
Elizabeth Banks. Yeah. And Zach Galifianakis. Love him.
I didn't realize he was in it.
Coming out to Netflix, Miraculous, Ladybug, and Cat Noir, the movie. So if you are into Ladybug and Cat Noir, this is for you. Coming out to Disney Plus, The Slumber Party. Says it's a comedy. Slumber Party.
I'm going to assume it's not a slasher flick.
No, this is a comedy. It says, and crazy things ensue. And I think that's it. Everything else is limited release. So there's a lot happening this week. I hope you get out to the movies or you get online and you watch something good. Tell us all about it.
All right. So giveaways, we got a couple of new ones instead of some random old ones. It is my turn, right?
It is your turn.
All right. First up, we've got some digital copies of Kandahar with Gerard Butler, which I think is a great movie. I think it's one that deserves a lot of props.
You need to see it.
It's not full-on action movie that you think, but there is plenty of action in it. We also have a few more digital copies of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think it's in August 1st. It'll hit Blu-ray and DVD, but right now you get the digital. We got still got a couple of copies left of The Tank, which was a creature feature that we liked. And the irony of this week, the new Swamp Thing hitting 4K, they had already released Return of the Swamp Thing on 4K with Heather Locklear. It does not have the same actor, I don't believe, playing Swamp Thing, but it's still, this one took it in a little funnier turn. Have you ever seen either one of these?
I don't think I have.
The first one's got some goofiness to it, but it's more on a horror flick. This one's a little lighter, a little sillier, as you can see from the poster.
Yeah.
Then we still got a couple of copies of Evil Dead Rise left, as well as the original National Lampoon's Vacation, which is a genius of a comedy that would probably never get made today.
Correct. All right. That's it, my friends. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Make sure you check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. For all the free stuff, click on the contest button and follow the instructions. Go find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Hive.
All right, we'll be here next Sunday. Bye.
That was it. All right, thanks. Bye.